whole world is claiming they can do the same thing you can. You show your work. Introducing Replit Community Profiles, with an all-new activity graph and power ranking to help you understand how you stack up against the world's best builders. Whoa, so nice. We trying to watch it twice. Okay, what's up, everybody? Welcome to an episode, a special edition of the Replit live stream. Super excited to announce this community profiles that we have been working on behind the scenes a little bit. And so today I'm just going to walk you through kind of our thought process, what we're building, what these things are, how we think they will help you all kind of take the next step in your vibe coding career, freelance growth, agency growth, whatever it is that you're trying to do with these new tools. There's a new paradigm forming in what it looks like to be a digital creator. And part of what we're thinking about on a regular basis here is how do we help you, again, not just build software, but then take those things to market, monetize your ideas, and really start growing and scaling what it is you're building. And so that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the main gist of this. And I'm going to take the first 5-10-ish minutes here to just kind of explain what's going on with these, what these profiles are, and then we're going to introduce you to the profiles. I'm going to bring Manny in. We're going to talk about this back and forth. I'm really hoping you all have ideas for like what this is and what this can be. And so what we'd like to see you all do in the comments here is, first of all, let us know if you've claimed your profile. You should go over to replit.com/community and claim that profile. Right meow, I think is the best time to just go do this. Like, get your profile if you haven't done this already. There's approximately 27,000 profiles that have been claimed. We've been tinkering with this in the background for the last handful of months. So many of you have discovered this, and this has been kind of floating out there for a little while, but this is our official launch party, just kind of letting people know again where this is headed. So you hear us talk about building the operating system for the next billion software creators. And part of that extends beyond just Replit, the platform, right? You see us investing so much in this community. Francisco, Manny, myself, all of the other people on the community team that are creating content, the marketing team that extends from there, the partnership teams that extends from there. And basically, we really are understanding that like we're redefining the creative industry. And we take that very seriously. And again, we feel like the infrastructure that you all need to succeed in this world is not just Replit, the tool, right? It's Replit, the ecosystem. It's Replit, the platform for launching and reaching scale. And those pieces are things that we're just trying to align and organize. We've seen the excitement around the different build-a-thons and the things that we've done over the last, 6-8 months. And this is just the beginning of what's coming. And that's really the gist of what's happening here, right? What we're trying to do with these community profiles. So let me give you a run of the show of what we're going to kind of talk about. I'm going to talk a little bit about the problem with vibe code. This is like a term that everyone is using right now to kind of explain this market. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about the concept of selling your Replit skills. We talk about this pretty regularly. Then we'll introduce the community profiles and this concept of proof of work in Replit. We will explain a little bit about what's the difference between these profiles and the LinkedIn certificates that you may already have claimed, and just talk a little bit about how they are same, but different, right? So they're, again, headed in the same direction of proving your work, validating your stats and kind of what you're doing, and just giving you tools to be able to build credibility and build trust in the space, which is a big part of how you sell your work. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to reintroduce Replitopolis as well. So some of you have seen Replitopolis, you've seen that. So we'll take a minute and kind of share how part of these profiles become us building a digital village, a digital city, and what that's going to visualize like, where we end up using this, and how this all comes together over time. And then again, we'll close out with where this is all headed, and then crowd Q&A throughout. And so after I get through this initial presentation, we're going to pull Manny in here. We're going to chat with everyone in the audience and just really give you all a gist of what's going on here. So let's talk a little bit about the problem with vibe code currently. And really, the question I have is like, how do you separate yourself from the competition when everyone's claiming to do the same thing? So we're kind of in this moment where, anyone can spin up a quick prototype. Anybody can kind of say like, hey, I'm a vibe coder. I build software now. I'm a digital builder. And so how do you separate yourself from somebody? Let's say you've been using the platform for years. how do you separate yourself from someone that just started using the platform yesterday and you're both trying to sell a new software project, right? And so again, these are the types of problems that you run into as you try to take your ideas, your product, the things you're building to market. So there's this concept of software being a solved problem. You've heard Dario from Anthropic talk about this. You've heard other lead engineers in the space that are very prominent talk about, hey, is software a solved problem? And this is the idea of vibe code, is that, hey, the software is just being built, right? Like you can just talk to the machine and get what you want. And again, a lot of platforms make this claim, but not all of them deliver. We know Replit is the only platform that really lets you take something from idea to published app, with just a handful of clicks, all in natural language. There are many other competitors that claim to do the same thing, but a lot of them leave you lacking when it comes to the real software development primitives, the dev production split, the security, the one-click deployments, right? Getting it off of your local host and actually publishing things out into the world. And so again, Replit being the real anchor in the market. We're 3 to 6 months ahead of, I think, the rest of the competition. We have the best agent harness on the block. And so I don't think software is a solved problem as of yet, but we're headed in towards that direction. And the reason I say it's not a solved problem yet is because there's still backlogs, right? Like even if you look at the top leading models, if you look at the Googles of the world, if you look at the OpenAIs, if you look at the Anthropics, they all have backlogs of issues. If software was a solved problem, then we wouldn't see that. They would just click a button and all their problems would be solved. And so what we're actually seeing is the opposite of that, is that there is this increase in the need for software developers. And this is the real kind of paradigm shift, the paradox, if you will, that I think we're seeing in the space. We talk about this regularly. People ask, where's the ROI? Where is the impact of this stuff? And again, just like in the adoption of electricity, this stuff was in the market for a long time before the money showed up, before the economy, the ecosystem, the idea of the whole city's lit up now so everyone can go outside and do things at night. Like that took a lot of time to build that infrastructure. And so we're kind of in that phase, and there's an almost unlimited demand for software development talent. The bottleneck in most enterprises, in most industries, in most places has absolutely been the lack of software engineering talent and the ability to kind of spread those resources out across different teams that are not software developers, right? And by that, I mean, how does the sales team, the HR team, the go-to-market team, the marketing themselves, like the things that we're doing in an organization like this would have almost been impossible to compete for development resources, first of all, because of the complexity of the work, and second of all, because the focus of those developers is on the main product that's leading to business growth, that's driving the adoption of the platform itself. And so a lot of times those other departments get left without those resources. And so what we're seeing now is that Vibe Code is opening up paths. This agentic engineering experience is opening up paths for lots of other people to build software, to build prototypes, to kind of get their ideas out of the head. And then that becomes, a path that you can move into the main product. Once you validate something, then software developers may come in and you bring in the actual, like hard tech folks to validate, to kind of refine, to optimize, to do all the things. And so we're just seeing this expansion of need for software developers. And I think there's going to be a lot more of that, which again is why I think Replit's so powerful. We talk about why you all are so early by being here in this space. And part of what we're doing with these community profiles is starting to quantify some of this, starting to help you, again, validate trust in the market, and then figure out what's the next thing to really get your career to the next level. And somebody said this in a meeting I was in very recently, and it really stuck out to me. And it's kind of becoming my thesis, right? And that's focus on the one thing that you can do that no one else can, right? We talked about how do you separate. If I go back a couple slides here, how do you separate yourself from the competition when everyone is claiming they can do the same thing? Well, you focus on the one thing that you can do that no one else can. This is where we talk about industry knowledge, specific industry knowledge, domain expertise, a problem that you're close to that you can solve. So like these are kind of the core primitives. But then you got to show your work, right? You got to show the world your work. You have to put it out there in the world, and then you have to build trust around the fact that like you can do these things professionally, that you can do these things effectively, and that when people hire you to work with them or to work on a project, that they're going to get the best result, right? And so you've seen this whole build in public phase. We've seen this whole, online digital creator space. We've been showcasing on the Friday streams people that are building with Replit and monetizing their work. And so this, again, is just a ramp for us trying to figure out how do we help you sell your Replit skills, because building no longer is the problem. And you've seen, again, our commitment is to, helping you figure out what's that next step, right? And so, okay, getting paid is the new benchmark in my mind. We talk about this all the time as well. And so this is where we're going to introduce these community profiles. This is where we're going to introduce the concept of proof of work. And this is where we're going to bring in Manny just to talk a little bit about kind of the thought here, what's happening.
What's up, everybody?
Yo, Manny in the house. What's going on?
The chat is on fire, man. People are pumped. Of course, some of our regulars posting some amazing numbers. I think Ruth's like top 1%. You have Dario over here like top 5%, and so the chat's getting really lit up.
Yeah, and this is where I want to talk a little bit about. So we're going to talk about a few things. I want to talk about the methodology we're using for this Replit power ranking. I want to talk about what you can do with these profiles. I want to talk a little bit about a promo that we're running. So by Friday, hopefully we're issuing a bunch of credits to folks who have shared their stats and kind of shown off their proof of work. So the rest of the stream is basically going to be us diving into the platform itself. If you've not been to the new community profile, this is also something we've been tinkering on for the last couple weeks here. There's some fun little Easter eggs on here that you can kind of play with on the site. It gets a little interactive. And then as you scroll down, you'll see all of our recent live streams, all of our upcoming events, our community initiatives, and then, claim your community profile. One of the things we're going to share here in a second are these cool little cards that you can create and generate. You saw the video that maybe you didn't just see it, but there's a video that you can generate when you claim your profile. So let's just go ahead and do that. Let me log in here so you can claim your profile. All this is going to do is ask you to log in with Replit. For right now, you can connect a single Replit account, but you can pull content in from multiple workspaces that account is tied to. So we'll cover that in a second. At some point, we may allow you to combine profiles. I know a lot of you have multiple profiles that you work under. And so for right now, that's not a feature, but I know some of you have asked like, hey, I have a bunch of different profiles. So can we combine that? It's something we've been thinking about. If you have ideas for what this can do, what this should do, what you would like to see on these stats, this is where we would love your feedback right now. In the captions, or I'm sorry, in the chat. So let me just walk you through the profile here itself. Activity graph, we're all kind of familiar with this concept. There's nothing really new or exciting here, other than it shows you, again, the consistency, right? Oh, let me go back to the screen share. So it shows you, and let me give me the little plush. There we go. Okay. So again, showing consistency when you work. Like imagine I'm going in and I'm selling to a new contract, and I want to show folks that like, hey, I'm not new to this, right? I've been since the beginning, since November of last year. You've been crushing this thing, and okay, and this could go back further. I think it goes back a year is what we have it set up to. And so you can start using this to, again, build credibility with your prospects. I would think about like maybe grab this share card. You can download this. You can copy the image, drop this into your profile, drop this into your portfolio, put this stuff on your socials. Again, having especially some of these new power rankings, which we're going to talk a little bit about how this is calculated and what's up here. And then this video that you're watching here, if you want, you just click download video in this share cards, and it'll create this video with your stats. If you're an ambassador, it also shows an ambassador card for you. So there's a card that you can share for, showing off that you're a Replit community ambassador here. And just expect us to do more things with the different projects that you participate in. So let's say you're part of a Build-a-thon or you're a Build-a-thon winner. We're going to display those things on your profiles. Let's say you signed our Aura Globe. Well, we're going to point you to where you are in the world and like help people kind of connect visually with people in different parts of the world. Let's say you, let's say, yeah, you're a Discord participant. Maybe we show your Discord profile. Maybe we allow people to link to you. Maybe we have all sorts of different badges and qualifications and different things that, again, we can add to this. So everything in here is editable. So we're just going to go in and click edit profile. I'll just go show you real quick. The things you can't edit are the things that are synced from Replit themselves. So this is all managed by your Replit profile, but you have a tagline that you can add. You have a website you can add. If you'd like your profile not to be visible, you can for sure make it private here. So we hope that as many of you as possible will want to make your profiles public, but yeah, you have the option of making it private if you'd rather not have that available. And then you can add your links to all the core social platforms. You can also add custom links here. So I have a test, but I'm going to remove that because I've already got my portfolio up there. Click Save Changes. Okay, great. And that will save for you. And then I can come into my projects tab at the top. So those are just my general details of the tab. I can update my profile picture. I can update my cover image. If I want to adjust the crop, I can come in here and kind of modify that. We don't have exact dimensions just because it's going to be responsive. So I know some of you have asked for that. So hopefully if you just come and adjust and center what you want to always show up across the different viewports, it will show up there. That will give you a little versatility in the type of image you can use here. And as we kind of figure out the dimensions and lock this in, we will eventually share, like fixed dimensions, but still because of responsiveness, you kind of want a little flexibility in the design. Anyway, Manny, I did some stuff just for you yesterday. So you can now, when you sync your projects, so we'll see there's 126 projects imported from one workspace. And I think that's actually wrong. It should be from 3 workspaces because when I come here, let me see. Let me just resync this and see what happens. So this should just pull up all my different workspaces. Core plans can feature up to 5 projects. Pro plans can feature up to 10 projects. And so as you have your projects up here, you can take a picture, or you can add a picture. That was also a community suggestion that came from the crowd last week when we got some early feedback in office hours on this. You can drag and drop to reorder your projects there as well. There you go, 127 projects imported from 3 workspaces. And then as I come down here, I can say, okay, my REPLs, Replit partnerships. So where are we pulling from? And then if you wanted to search, I can just search for that. Actually, let's promote Ghost Chat. Put that at the top. Okay. Yeah, and that's automatically saved. If I go back to my profile here, we'll see that Ghost Chat is now at the top. I don't have a description for that, but I can click to visit that. It will take me out to the URL for that application. I think it's on auto scale, so it might take it a second to load, but it's there. And that's okay. Oh, we haven't talked about the performance indicator. So that's kind of the gist of setting up your profile. If you are an ambassador, you'll see this ambassador tab. I won't open that because I think it just shares a little bit more details about what we're looking for. I don't want to dox myself or anybody else. So, but if you're an ambassador, again, you'll have an extra tab there that gives us things like how do we pull you into early access cohorts? How do we kind of send you swag? Contact information, different things, etc. So that's in there. And I think that's kind of the gist. Let's maybe take a short little break here and look at the comments. Manny, any thoughts here? Because before we go into the Replit power ranking and how that compares to the LinkedIn profiles, let's just maybe take a second and look at the chat and conversations.
Well, first of all, people are totally hyped, man. Here's a good comment. Rymar the GOAT. Very cool, very dope. Hooray. Like, people are absolutely loving this. I did see a couple of questions. Can you maybe talk a little bit about what account you need to be able to set up your profile? You mentioned a little bit, but like core versus pro. Somebody asked, like, do I need to have pro access to be able to set this up?
Yes, so you don't need pro access to see the activity graph. You will need a pro account to see your Replit power ranking. So if you want to see this box here, these stats here, you will need to have a pro account. We may decide to open that up further down the road, but for right now, this is for pros. One of the things you're really going to start seeing us double down on is professional builders inside of Replit, especially from the community side. We've talked about like cohorts, launching launch support for your products, especially folks that are kind of bubbling up in their activity and the folks who are really active in the community. And so you're really going to see us double down on folks who are in the pro tier. And again, I want to emphasize the fact that if you're not already a pro and you're spending more than $100 a month on Replit, you need to upgrade that. Like, there's just no reason if you're spending close to $100 a month even on Replit, just the added benefit you're going to start getting with the pro Discord channel, the Hangouts, these Replit power rankings, some of these other things are going to be kind of focused towards the professionals. And you'll see us taking this a little bit next to the, a little bit further into the next level. So I think, I don't know if that answers the question exactly, but that's kind of how we're thinking about this right now. If you're a core user and you spam us on X, let us know. Is this something that should be available to everyone? What are your thoughts about what we can pull in? Maybe we can give you guys a little snippet of it. But I really think, you should invest in yourself. $100 a month is not even a cell phone bill, right? Like my cell phone bill is more than that. And if you're serious about like becoming selling your Replit skills, taking this stuff to market, $100 a month is an investment that you should make in just tinkering, building, working, and maintaining something that's important to you, and then scaling it up from there, finding ways to monetize that so that it's not a negative output. It should be bringing you revenue in. None of the money you spend with Replit should be like a negative output for you, right? Maybe at first, as you ramp up, but then the goal is like get that money flowing back in using these tools. So.
I'd also be curious in terms of what people want to see in terms of badges, because you touched on that a little bit. I think that's going to be really cool. Build-a-thon winner, like Ruth
Yes.
listing that, or like has attended so many streams in a row or something. So love to hear
Yeah.
like what type of badges would you like to see on this profile, or just in general, what else do you want to see on this profile that maybe we might add to it?
That I agree. That would be very helpful for us. There's in my head, there's tabs here. So projects, badges, whatever, and so you can kind of see some of those. This right here is probably going to disappear. Actually, I don't think you all will see this on your profiles. I think this is only an admin view. Because of some of the things we're tinkering with, and I'll share a little bit about this Replit power ranking. We will probably share a little bit more about the methodology and kind of what we're pulling into that. But it also is causing questions for folks that are not really explainable at the moment. And so anyway, instead of like flooding support and having people just ask questions about stuff, we're just going to hide a couple things for now, just keep the activity graph and the Replit power ranking visible. But some of these aggregate, and most of these are already shared, in different places here. So anyway, go
And
ahead.
there's some questions around just methodology in terms of like how do people get their power ranking up, stuff like that. I think you're going to cover that in an upcoming segment. So yes, stay
Correct.
tuned for that. And like if you're curious about how this ties in with some of the work that we've done on LinkedIn, Reimer's going to cover that in a bit as well. So stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about, let me see, what the difference between the LinkedIn certification versus this profile. Let me just cover that right now a little bit. This LinkedIn certification is kind of like a high level mastery of the platform, right? So the LinkedIn certification is like a 1 to 5 scale, and it just kind of has these benchmarks for like, have you mastered the platform? Have you done XYZ? Have you published certain things? Have you kind of taken very specific actions is what this is looking for from like a mastery level? This is something you can put on your LinkedIn profile. This is something that, lots of people find a value in, just kind of being able to have that badge. Soon we will have your certification kind of pulled in, and we are working on how do we kind of connect these scores a little more closely. So stay tuned for that. But the profile is a little bit more about in the moment. And this is where we can talk a little bit about the power ranking. So the idea behind the community profiles is to not be static, right? So like once you get the certification, you might see a bump from like level 2 to level 3 or level 3 to level 4, but there's not a whole lot of things you can do there to kind of show an employer or show a contractor or an agency or a client or whatever. More than that, about what you're actually doing, the projects you're building, where you're spending your time. And that's the gap I think these profiles aim to fill, as well as the power rankings, which is basically a benchmark against other active builders, right? So one of the things that the certificate does is it benchmarks you against a way bigger pool. I think it's like all Replit users. And so you might find yourself, with a little bit different score than what we're going to have, because what we're doing is we're taking a fixed sample size of active users. And by active users, we mean people who have been active in 4 out of the last 8 weeks with more than 2 or 4 agent sessions per week. And then we're taking 1,000 random people from that sample and creating the percentile rankings, right? And so that's where your performance and activity rank or your power ranking come from. So if you're looking here and there's a little bit of discrepancy between what this says versus what your certificate just says, just know that this is more time-based, right? So this is looking at the last 30, 90 days of your activity. Also, there's a time decay for long-term usage. So the more activity you have in the past beyond those 90 days, the higher your score stays relevant. If you have less and less activity in the past, or then there's going to be a decay in your performance ranking. And so this is again one of those benchmarks of like, where do I sit right now against top users, and what's my performance across the cohort of active users on the platform itself. And we think that again becomes a very interesting thing for you to share in real time, especially if you're continually building, you've always got like projects going, you're always working on different things, to have that performance ranking, to have that thing that you can say, hey, I am one of the most active users currently on Replit. Here's my proof of work, right? And so again, one of those things that I think will evolve as we go. If you see here, the profile data, this is something to put out there, is that it may be up to 24 hours behind. And then it's the link to the stream for folks to kind of learn more about what we're building. The streak and the longest streak here, I think will be fun to see who has the longest streak. So maybe as you're sharing this, let us know if you've got a candidate for the longest streak. I've got 46 days as an active streak, but I don't know if anybody's got that beat. So if you've got 46 days beat, tag us and let us know when you share your profile. That'd be cool to see. What else is coming in on the comments here?
Dario wants to know, how is prompt performance being measured?
Okay, so prompts and checkpoints are kind of the same thing. So you won't actually see your performance. This performance is just a flat performance across the board. So this Replit power ranking then basically puts you into a percentile overall with all of your statistics. So maybe I can show this. Let me do this. Let me cut to this thing so I make sure I don't get to a view that's going to show users emails. But I'm going to show a little bit about how this all works. Let's do that. Okay, so there's a whole dashboard here. Again, we're going to nerd out. And this is what I think, like, this is one of those things where I think you're also going to see us go a little deeper on, is this idea of building useful stuff and then sharing the things that we build. You see us use this chat scrape app that we like pull in the comments during the live streams. You see us building the CRM. There's a lot more stuff on the back end of the CRM. If you see here, again, I'm not going to start clicking around because it'll dox folks' emails. But we've got our ambassadors in here. We've got our users in here. All of the events are being pulled in, and Discord is also being pulled in here. And we've talked about the Discord bot that we have that soon you'll be able to kind of interact with and chat with and support you inside of Discord. And so we're building a ton of tools and methodology and metrics. And this is kind of more complex stuff, right? When you see a lot of the marketing stuff, you see, here's the initial output. Here's a quick app. Here's what we built in an hour. This software is being built for 3 months. I've been tinkering on this thing, right? And so there's a lot of complexity. There's a lot of things happening here. And I think, 47, sir, you knob light. How dare you? I need to see the pictures or it doesn't count.
Ruth's got 52, dude.
Oh, 52. Ruth for sure will share her shots. Okay, so a big part of what we want to start doing on these deep dives and in the office hours is showing like, what does it take to maintain and build real software? Not just how do you get that initial prompt, because when you're going out to market, when you want to build something for a customer, when you want to like monetize something, there's a level of refinement. There's a level of expectation for what the product should look like and feel like. And so I want to kind of share and show some of how it is that we're doing and the things that we're building to do this stuff. And so this Replit Power Ranking Lab is kind of cool. I can just grab a random spread of folks. So this will just pull in users. And then what I can do here is I can even pick, like change users. Let's see if we pull in Ruth here. What happens if I put Ruth in the game? Ruth. So there we go. Ruth has 4.2. She's in the top 4.2 with a 9.8 power score. And you can see her numbers are off the chart. But then what I can do in here is we can just kind of come in and play and see like, hey, if I start messing with some of these metrics, how does it actually impact? And so this was how I honed this in. Maybe you've seen these scores changing a little bit. So what I did was I just kind of looked at a bunch of different folks. I looked at some of their rankings and just came up with a core initial algorithm for how some of this stuff works. And this is just showing some of the stuff we're measuring. The number of projects you have adds to the ranking, the number of deployments adds a score, how many days active in a row adds to your score. Again, checkpoints and prompts are linked into like a unified metric that kind of normalizes across the mix. And so you'll see us add more kind of nuance to this and also tinker. And so what we can do is I can see, hey, before and after. And then if we have these folks down here, I can have a sample and it shows me where people are going to move, how is this going to affect them, so that as we make any changes to this, we have visibility on how it's going to kind of go through the entire landscape. And then you can see we have this benchmark, and this benchmark is going to populate with some kind of regular frequency. Right now it's set up to a week. I don't think that's super important for any of you all. But what this does is this is what gives us the percentile breakdown. And so we're taking, with some basic rules, a sample size of 1,000 users across Replit. We create this power ranking over the last 90 days of their usage, of what's going on. And then we benchmark your usage against that. And so that's where we're getting, again, these numbers from. Let me go ahead and reset this so that we don't make any changes to the system, because I've spent a lot of time tuning this into trying to be as accurate as I can, but also fair to other users. And so, yeah, I think, again, a little bit of what is going into this power ranking, and you can expect us, you can see a little overview of it here. So basically the Replit power ranking benchmarks your activity, basically what I just showed, you can kind of see it here. And you can expect this to evolve over time as we get feedback from you, as we get access to more data from the back end, as we integrate this with other things across the board. I think that will all be, fair game to kind of bring into the mix here. So, all right. So what's
A couple of other questions. So like, for example, if you're collaborating on a client's account,
Mhm.
if it's on that client's account, then I'm assuming that that's not going to come into your profile here.
If you are in the workspace, a shared workspace, it should
Oh,
come in.
that's
So
a
if
good
they
point.
have invited you to the workspace, you should be able to pull in. And if we go back to that edit profile and our projects tab, you can see here 127 projects imported from 3 workspaces. And then I can see the different. So my REPLs is my personal stuff. And so I could filter that. I could say Replit, here's the Replit, org internally. So I could feature stuff from there. I don't have to be the owner of the project. If I'm listed as a contributor on the project, it will show up here and let me share that. And so again, you can see here's like the community hub. I don't
That's
have any
amazing.
I don't have any other slot. This all came from your feedback too, by the way, Manny. I took the thoughts that you shared with me yesterday, and like, yeah, just sent it to the agent, and we talked about it for a little bit, and we added that. Yeah.
That's so
Um,
good. Yeah, because now you have a workspace. So the I think the issue that people had is like, I want to build something in Replit and then I want to transfer it over to a client that's going to pay for it. But I guess now like you have the client set up a workspace, they invite you as a contributor, as an editor, you do all the work and then you hand it off. And the handoff is easy. It's just like, here, just take it from here. And what's great about this is that it's also going to pull that activity that I'm doing on other workspaces into my power ranking.
yeah. Yeah, and this will get better. Like, again, the idea of possibly merging profiles. So some people have multiple accounts. Like, I have a good friend that has a handful of different accounts because he's set up other people's projects. So we'll try to get better at this. I don't know what's available to us. I'm imagining we're about to like hit some real big query numbers here and spend on some of this data back and forth. This is all, listen, this is all vibe coded by yours truly using enterprise level data connectors. This is the exact type of example of the kinds of things that people can build inside of enterprises with control, with limitations, with checks and balances about what can happen to the data, where the data can go, who can publish, what data you can pull into this stuff. And so again, not only is this a cool thing for the community, um, but it's also like we talk about eating our own dog food, right? You saw us build the Build-a-thon hub platform and run the whole back end of the Build-a-thon on that, which is something that I think, again, we've talked about lots of companies just wouldn't do. And now we're building our own internal CRM slash activity graph. I,
Yeah, Chris is
I,
here. Like, you actually like dog food your own product to make your own products. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm a little hesitant to share how deep this goes. But just know part of the process here is to be able to filter up you all as participants in this community and as Replit users. Our goal is to figure out how can we know who it is doing the things that we should be elevating, highlighting, showcasing, etc. And so we're looking for signals all across the board, across social media, inside of Discord, inside of your Replit usage, inside of your event attendance, which is why we use Luma to kind of manage these RSVPs. And so as you all start sending us signals about your engagement and your, like your commitment to this community, and as we start building these workflows for how do we amplify the work that you all are doing, you can expect this profile and the backend that we're building here to essentially become a place where we can like identify, here are core contributors, here are folks we can, help amplify, maybe do social features, invite to the live streams, invite to showcases, like bring in as ambassadors, right? As we start looking and thinking about ambassadors all around the world, these are going to be strong signals to let us know, again, is this person just, joined and they want ambassadors because they want free credits or they want to take advantage of something? Or is this somebody who's really kind of putting their heart into this community? And so, again, I would just encourage everyone to go to replit.com/community and claim this profile. If you've already claimed your profile, but you haven't been there in a while, go back and visit because the score was updated last night. And so go see your updated score. There's a fun little animation. It might take, 10, 15 seconds because we got to pull the new data when you load it if it hasn't been updated, if your score hasn't been updated yet. But yeah, this is exciting for me. This is exciting for us as a community. Manny, I don't know what your general thoughts are on, just what's going on here. But yeah, let's just that's all I got from the official let's talk about it standpoint. Now let's just kind of riff, chat, go wherever it goes.
I love it. Chat loves it. I think it's going to be awesome. And what's cool is that this is just the start. And I just want to reiterate: go right now, claim your profile. It takes like 5 minutes. And then, question for you, Ramar, in terms of feedback, in terms of what people want to see on the profile. Also, I'm seeing a couple of folks having issues with getting access to their projects, or like somebody not having an ambassador view. What's the best way to report those bugs or those issues and feedback requests?
Yeah. So okay. Right now the feedback widget is not on this site, and that may or may not happen. We're mostly looking for, again, if you have feedback on this, share us on X, let us know in Discord. We're going to be looking for feedback from our inner circle as we refine this first phase of this thing, and then you'll see us open it up. We also, one of the reasons we're limiting this to pro versus like core and all the users is we want to understand what the load is going to be on the servers, on our BigQuery, on our backend. Like we need to kind of understand the data usage on this because it's not free for us to do. We also might think about how to integrate this deeper into the product, because right now, if you're not seeing a project or if you're not seeing something in the space, sometimes there's a delay. Not sometimes, there's always an 18 to 24-hour delay in when we get the data from BigQuery. So we're not pulling directly from Replit databases here. Where the data happens, the action happens on Replit, they put it in the data lake, BigQuery, and then we pull from BigQuery into the mix to have your profiles and all the data. And so if you don't see something, it's probably just because it needs a little bit of time. So if you just created a new project, come back tomorrow, it'll probably be there, and just resync. What was the other question, Manny? What was the other thing that I think I overlooked?
If people have some bugs, like if they can't access certain projects on workspaces, or like if somebody can't see their ambassador profile.
If you cannot see your ambassador profile, you are not actually flagged as an ambassador yet. If you are part of the official ambassador program, that's something that you have communication channels for us. So just post that in Slack, reach out to us in Discord.
Yep.
That's just a small little oversight on our end. It shouldn't be the case. If you've submitted an application and that hasn't been approved yet, or you haven't done the onboarding for ambassadors, then you would not see those ambassador tabs. That stuff is just for folks who have actually gone through and been onboarded officially as ambassadors. And so, again, if you are an ambassador and you don't see your ambassador share card or the ambassador tag at the top when you log in, then let us know, because we can fix that real quick.
hmm And I know we covered this at the top of the show, but I think it's worth reiterating what access you have based on the different accounts. So like free, core, and pro. So maybe you could touch a little bit
Yep.
on that again.
Yeah. So I can actually show. Oh, you know what? It's not, because as an admin, it's just going to show me the stats for everybody. um, okay, so you can go claim your activity profile. You can claim a community profile. Everyone gets a profile. The pro stats, the performance, and the Replit power ranking are for professional account holders only right now. So if you're a pro or ambassador, you will see the performance rankings. For right now, that is just limited to professional accounts. We may or may not open this up fully to core at some point, but for right now, as we test this, as we iterate, again, this is V1. So as we get to the next layer, you will not see this sidebar. You'll see a call to action that basically, recommends you upgrade to a pro account. But you will see the activity graph. You will be able to share your basic stats, and yeah, we will again. The more feedback we hear from folks, the more people go claim these profiles, the more we will have ammo to go to the team and be able to say, hey, we should open this up to everyone, or, we need to, unlock or ungate this type of thing. But for right now, this could get very expensive if hundreds of thousands of people come and do this. And so we just want to monitor the release and make sure everything's stable as this works out. So just bear with us as we do this. And yeah.
And one other thing to count, not only do we want you to claim your profile, but we also want you to share it. So on Friday, we're gonna pick some folks to maybe hand out some credits to based on what we see on socials. So claim your profile. You've got these great assets that now automatically get downloaded if you're on the pro account. And we want to see those on socials. Tag us, tag me, Ryan Meyer, Francisco, Replit, and we want to see these everywhere.
Yeah, this is what's going to be fun and we're going to issue credits to the best posts. We just expect we're going to go credit Happy on Friday with folks who have made the most original post sharing their stats, folks who have shown their like top activity streaks, folks who have kind of the most active profiles. I mean, some of you are absolute legends. Honestly, some of you are out of control. Let me pull uh let me pull one of these up.
Yeah, there's a high correlation between folks that attend our streams and power, like top power ranking folks.
Yeah, just like look at, okay, so Viktor is okay. Nice. He just said Victor's been doing some work because this was not there before. It didn't have a project featured. But look at this, top 1.8%, 7,000 checkpoints in the last 90 days. Like, look at this.
Victor.
Look at this machine.
Cranking.
Right. And so, yeah, this is, we can go in and kind of see, again, I might have to come up with a view for this CRM that's like a screen demo that just removes all PII. So like removes emails, removes things that we because I would love to be able to show and demo the full back end of this thing of what we're building. And I was thinking about that the other day.
That would be a good deep dive, dude.
That it would be,
yeah.
Speaking of,
Oh, there we go.
and it happened.
Reimer, enterprise account users, do they get pulled into this?
I do think enterprise users get the pro stats. Yes, I think enterprise and pro users get their professional stats. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then just a couple of comments and questions around sharing this and having this kind of be like on people's LinkedIn profiles. Somebody mentioned Fiverr. So any thoughts there, about like maybe like having like standalone certificates or like I don't know, I guess what you call them like milestones, things that can sit on your LinkedIn profile, Fiverr profile, just kind of help build credibility on other platforms?
Yeah, so I am thinking about that very specifically. Um, I don't know how this will play out, but we are thinking about, in a dream world, an embeddable badge that you would be able to drop into any project, any website, anywhere you want on the web, and it would show your link to your profile page, and then some assets that you can share and connect in different places. So we're talking internally about how this plays nicely with the LinkedIn certification, with other professional certifications, with other things that we can do with this. And so, yeah, just keep those ideas coming. Not 100% sure exactly how that all plays out, but it is something we're thinking about, is how do we let you take this credibility, trust signal, and not just point people to Replit, but inject a link to this in places where it makes a lot of sense. I think right now, just linking to your profile is step one.
Huge.
Like an embeddable badge that you could just put on any of your projects that then takes you to your builder profile would be super cool. And so,
Mhm.
yes,
And for a lot of folks, like in the developer community, I think the equivalent for this was the GitHub profile that you would show. Like that was kind of the equivalent of somebody's resume.
hmm
Like in the like pre AI world, I guess like now in the Vibecoin space, this is kind of it. So I think just having that visual of like the amount of activity that you've had over the last like several months, like that in itself is like such a like a credibility booster. So if someone's trying to connect with me and they're like, "Hey, I'm interested, I have these questions," and then they link to their profile and like see like all the activity that they've done, they're like top like 20% builders. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like this is like a serious person. Let me chat with them.
yeah, and that's where this kind of started for me, is that like I was building lots of things on the web, and I hated that I didn't have something like you just talked about, right? Some kind of activity graph that shows, because a lot of the work that you do when you do this stuff is like this deep, hidden, just you and your screen, just like nobody knows. And sure, you can share the output, you could share the work, the project, and it's like, okay, here's this tool, but that still doesn't really show like how you've locked in or what your consistency has been on the platform. And so having something like that has been something I've been thinking about, again, in my original post here, since long before, right? Like this is from October 27th of last year. But long before this, like I've been thinking about how do we do something like this.
Hmm.
And so when I got access to BigQuery and when I got access to some of this stuff, I was like, we finna find out. Let's see what we can do. So yeah, very excited to see where this goes. And I think, again, if you're serious about turning your vibe code skills into revenue, into a professional tool set, these are the kind of things that just become very helpful. So yeah, just keep letting us know what you would like to see for that stuff.
Just want to give a quick shout out to Nadia, letting you know that we have DM'd you about that ambassador page or
Uh-huh.
badge. So that's going to get set up really quick. A good question here from Aaron. So on my profile for the projects that I select, they're only going to get the link to the deployed URL, like the
Correct.
production URL, not the project itself in Replit as a remixable option. I think that is a really important distinction to highlight.
Correct. And all you'll see there is if the project is deployed and available to the public, then you will see a link to that. Let me just pull it up here and get back to the screen share so I can show. What you'll see is just a link to visit the app itself, right? So if you have a public URL available for the app, that's what will show up there. If you come over here to the right side and you want to view it on Replit, you can then open up the Replit project itself. That's just available to you as the project owner or as the contributor of the project. That's not available to the public.
Mhm.
Um,
And if it's not deployed publicly, would it just show the app name and description?
Correct. It'll just show the name and description. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. So if it's like a private project, if it's an internal tool, yeah, and maybe eventually we might let you add a custom link or something, but we just want to keep it simple, pulling this stuff in automatically from keeping it trying to keep it in sync. We're trying to do the least amount of things that change the source of truth. So right now, Replit BigQuery is a source of truth. This is just kind of pulling and letting you kind of organize and modify and add a few things to it. But we're going to try to keep all of the data that really matters kind of in the buckets where it goes.
And I saw this from Dario. Like he's mentioning that he has not applied for the ambassador program because he thinks it keeps him from working with clients that have Replit. Absolutely not the case, Dario. No, if anything, it's going to help you work
Yeah.
with clients. No,
Yeah.
the ambassador program. No, it's just like you get more access to us. You get some credits. You become closer to our community. And no, we don't keep you from working with anybody in Replit. In fact, I think it's going to help your business if you can show yourself as being a Replit ambassador. And you see this with other big like enterprise grade types of platforms. Like Microsoft is going to have like their own Microsoft certified program, or like GCP as well. So no, that's definitely not stop you, Dario. Get that application in today, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Go to the Community Hub homepage. Let's just show people where they can do that. So we're going to go to the Community Hub homepage. You'll click Become an Ambassador, and then you'll see the program. You can apply. You'll see some of the top ambassadors and what the benefits are, upcoming ambassador-hosted events. And then if you click this application, let's say you're logged out, you'll see a login with Replit. If you want to apply, you'll then see the form. If you've already applied, then you will see a notification saying we've received it. And then if you are an ambassador, we'll show you that you're already in. And when you are an ambassador, if you go to your edit profile, that's where you'll see this ambassador tab that allows you to kind of fill in and add that extra information. If you've filled out the application, that will pull in all that information for you. So you shouldn't have to update that detail. It'll pull over from your application. So again, the ambassador thing is just something we're scaling up. I think, what was it? At the end of May, we brought in our biggest cohort so far. And I think there's something like 170, 180 applications that are in the mix. I imagine that number is going to go up. We are continuously looking at those applications and looking for signals from you all. Again, hosting events, content, doing things like Nadia and company are doing with their podcasts, and just kind of getting out there in front of the folks, in front of the crowd. So yeah, again, basically this is all part of a system for us to bubble up the top builders inside of Replit and use our resources to help you again reach the next level. So
This has come up a couple of times. Yes, at Queen, I guess. When you work on a client's workspace, if you're invited as an editor, whatever you do in that workspace is going to be added towards your stats here, which is awesome. It's amazing. It's come up a couple of times. People really want to make sure about that. They want to get the credit.
If you are making those edits, I don't want to overspeak here. You can post and share projects from multiple workspaces. I think the activity stats may be pulling from workspaces that are attached to your specific account. We don't have it set up yet where you can kind of merge the work from two different accounts. So if you log in separately with Replit to different accounts, there's a clear divide there. If you have access to those workspaces in your single account, then that's being pulled in here. But I'm also not 100% sure if that activity, like I have to check, because I think it may be coming from the personal stuff, and then the projects themselves are coming from the different workspaces. So don't quote me, but that's great feedback, and I'll verify that. And we want to show as much work as you're doing. So if there's places where we have gaps, then we want to figure out how to pull those in. So again, take a look and explore your profile, and we will do our best to just make these things as useful as possible as we go.
And Java Bean AI is asking about how do we share? You can just share the URL. It's going to link directly to your profile. And also there's some really cool visuals that you can share as well. Maybe you want to show that again, Rymar. So like you'll get like the option to download some images or video. And then I think even the option to post that to X or to LinkedIn or wherever you're gonna post it. So
Yeah, there's
a
two
couple cool
things
ways
you
to
can
share.
do. You can just grab the URL like you would typically do and share your profile link with anyone. And there's a public, page that just goes out. Uh, if that's the case, you want to make sure that you have your profile set to public here. So some of you have it set to private. Most everyone, I think 91% of folks have, their public profile set to public. Then there's this share stats button right under your profile. So if you click that, you can see a bunch of different cards here. So let's say I want to copy an individual image. I can do that and then just paste that image. So let's say I just want to share this one card. Let's say I want to download a zip file with all of my cards and post those somewhere. Or let's say I want to download a video. This is going to take and render a video. And that's where this thing came from. So this will render you a custom video that you can then share as well. So a bunch of different options for how you can share these things. Again, we're thinking about other ways to let you link back to these profiles. But yeah, for now, that's the best way is just click the little share stats button or share the URL to your profile.
Awesome. And someone's asking about whether or not these projects have to be public. No, again, it's nice that they're public because then they can go to the URL when it says visit site. So go to the launch URL, but they don't have to be public. They can be private, but you'll just see the name of the project and the description.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. On the profile itself, you'll see the link if it is a public or deployed app, right? So if the app is deployed and has a public URL, that's where this will go. If it doesn't, then you will just see the name and description. One thing you can do here is, let's say I want to go in and add images. You can upload images for the different projects as well. I think this may be too big an image, but again, you can kind of pick and crop what you want. You click save image. And now if I go back to my profile, you'll see that Ghost Chat has a little preview. Again, pro users can pin or showcase 10 projects, and then core users can showcase up to 5. So just a good way, again, to showcase what your top projects are. Maybe we'll get a little bit more, link tree style with this, make it a little more performant. Maybe this becomes the thing that you use as a part of your portfolio site. I don't know. I think lots of people are going to send traffic to this to show off their builder stats. And then lots of people are going to go figure out what's it take to kind of get up into the next game, especially as they see some of the features and benefits that come along with bubbling up on our radar here. So
Here's a good suggestion: adding friends on here. Like, for example, I'd like to follow your profile. Like, I'd like to have an option like follow Rymar. So like when you get an update, like I want to see like what you're working on. When you list a new project, I want to get like maybe an alert that says like, oh, go check out Rymar. I just listed a new project.
yeah, that would be interesting. And I don't have any plans immediately for that. However, we did get really excited about the activity feed and the replicache on the Build-a-thon hub, right? And so I'm thinking it might be interesting to add some social gamified elements to this. I don't know what that looks like. But yeah, that could be another layer of showing. The first thought I had was, hey, if this project is in a workspace with multiple people and multiple contributors, maybe when you see the project, it shows who those contributors are. But we could definitely then link. Maybe there's groups, maybe there's, as we start doing cohorts, I don't know, lots of different things. So yeah, these are the types of things to just keep suggesting. And I do think a social element to some of this at some point would be really cool. What else is coming in? I think there's some other pinned stuff that.
And then we've had a bunch of questions that are not necessarily related to the community profiles. I don't know if you want to tackle those yet, or just keep jamming on the community.
Yeah,
profiles.
let's maybe go through some of these. What's the lag from when you upgrade to pro to you see reflected in the profile? It could be anywhere from 18 to 24 hours. So if you just upgraded today, check back tomorrow, re-log in with that, and you should get a updated pro indicator. Again, it just takes some time for that to hit our BigQuery stuff. So let's see. If you move to pro, is it possible to ever drop down again to core? Yes, actually, they just made that path quite easy. They just created a downgrade path and upgrade path. So it's easier to move back and forth between core and pro without having to, um, I think you had to like undeploy all your apps if you wanted to like downgrade.
Yeah.
So that's no longer the thing, I believe. Okay, let's answer this. Why are the top X percentages different from the legacy certification site? Okay, so we talked a little bit about the nuance of this. I don't really want to get too deeply into the weeds, but the certificate is measuring your mastery across like the entire platform, including a way bigger sample size. So I think we have like, I don't know how many, 55 plus million users. And a lot of those users, let's say, create an account, they send a prompt or two, they build one thing, and then, you know, maybe they don't come back for a while, or they're not really like fully active inside of Replit. And so that master certificate kind of just grabs ranking about how, you know, like your overall performance against everybody and just your mastery of specific pieces of the platform. What this power ranking is kind of measured against a sample size of 1,000 active users, right? So it's a smaller sample size. It's a tighter percentage ranking. It's a little more accurate to the nuance of like where you fall in the like last 90-day cohort of the folks. So I don't know if that clarified or muddied things up, but just think about it as more of like a real time in the moment metric versus the certificate being like a snapshot of the high level usage. And we're talking right now about how do we kind of consolidate these. So stay tuned for updates. Again, this is V1. Stay tuned for how we join or unify those things.
Someone also was asking about custom URLs for their projects. So right now, we're just going to pull the URL that for the Replit project. But any thoughts on making that custom? And they did a follow-on comment. Like the context there was they would like to have like an attributable URL. So maybe they want to see how many
Mm.
people came through their profile to their project, which I think is, you know, it's a good thought.
Yeah, and that could be something we could add eventually is clicks. Maybe there's a button for people to hire you here where they can send you an email. Um, yeah, lots of different things. I don't know. Again, we don't want to add a lot of things on this community hub that are not source of truth inside Replit databases, right? Because we create double work, we create lots of dependencies, we create like tangled wires that then at some point have to be reconciled if we want to bring this into the project. So for right now, I wouldn't expect a ton of those customizations. A custom URL, I believe if it's set in Replit, will pull in as the public URL. But if not, then it's just going to give you the deployed Replit app URL. So just a thought on that. Okay, lots of questions coming in about ambassadors. Should we take a minute and maybe
Yeah,
chat
just
about?
jam on the ambassador program.
Yeah, maybe take a second and just talk a little bit about what's going on with that.
Yeah, maybe let's pull up the ambassador page.
Yeah. So okay. So if I come to the home page and click become ambassador, which is like the main call to action right in the hero section here, or join Discord. If you're not in Discord, that is open to core and pro users right now. So you can just go here. That'll ask you to log in with Replit. If you're already logged in, then it will allow you to connect to Discord. But on the ambassador side, just click here to become an ambassador. This explains the program again. So all the details and kind of events that are being hosted by ambassadors are on this page, along with some FAQs that might be interesting if you're just starting out. And then you just click the apply now button and you will fill out the application here. So this application will then give us the details we need, and those applications come back into our dashboard, and we're reviewing these applications on a rolling basis. We don't have like a set timeline for how often we're going to be doing cohorts or bringing in new folks, but this is the process, right? You come to the page, apply to be an ambassador. We are reviewing those applications as they come in, and then we will assign folks into the next rounds of cohort. And every once in a while, we will bring in new batches of ambassadors. And yeah, those folks will start to be showcased on the page, on the streams, in lots of different places. Yeah. Manny, anything else that we should think about from the
Yeah,
ambassador side?
yeah, I mean, I think like as I ask ambassadors why they joined the program, I think the number one thing that comes to mind or that I'm hearing is that they get more access to the Replit team. So obviously that the community team for sure, but also other folks on the team, leadership, engineering, etc. will have special programming for them. And then also you get early access to certain features before they
Yep.
launch to everybody else. So we want to get your feedback because you're some of our biggest users, and oftentimes, some of that feedback finds its way in the product before we launch something. So that's a big perk. And then, of course, we give you credits to play around with the new features. So definitely a cool program. And yeah, to somebody's point earlier, Dario, like we don't keep you from working with anybody. It's just if you want to work with clients that are using Replit, you're more than happy to. I think it actually helps you work with those clients if you can come in and say, "Hey, I'm a Replit ambassador. Here is my community profile page. Check it out." Like, I think
Mhm.
you immediately have credibility. You move on to like, okay, what is this project about, and what is what's the estimate for you going to be? So yeah, I think it's going to definitely help you with that sort of initial credibility boosting.
Well, and if you look at the current round of ambassadors, most of them have been surfaced through participation in the community long before we even had an ambassador program, or they were standouts during one of the build-a-thons, or after one of the build-a-thons, they become very active in helping other folks or in creating content online or being helpful in some kind of online channel, doing support requests or answering questions or hosting meetups or all sorts of different stuff. So we've talked about this a handful of times is don't just wait for your ambassador application to be reviewed. Start doing things that kind of show us that you are already an ambassador, and that will help kind of get brought in to the mix. Let's go over maybe this eligibility here because this is interesting to look at and might be something that if you're thinking about this to just keep in mind. Active builders that not only love using Replit, but also helping others make most of the tools. So you don't necessarily have to be like, if you look at our ambassadors, they're not necessarily the most active users across the platform, but they are helpful. They're genuinely interested in the product. They're, doing lots of things to, again, act as a ambassador, for lack of just a better word, of the brand itself already. We're prioritizing applications that are publishing content, fostering communities, hosting events, showcasing the latest Replit capabilities. We talked about that. Ability to participate in our community Slack at least once a week, contribute a minimum of 1 hour a month to ambassador programming, and providing feedback during beta access periods. So this is kind of what Manny was talking about, is that ambassadors get early access to some of the releases. Sometimes it's a couple of days, sometimes it's a couple of weeks. Just depends on what we're launching and what the product is. But you're also inside some channels where you get access to share feedback with the team internally, which is kind of a trusted place to be inside of the Replit Slack shared channel there. I do think at some point we're going to unify all ambassador comms into a single channel, so stay tuned for updates on that. And then a commitment to upholding our community standards and code of conduct. So again, making sure you're doing high quality stuff and there's no real timeline yet. There's not like, hey, once a month. We are reviewing the submissions monthly on a rolling basis, but we're not necessarily committing to doing an ambassador cohort launch every month just yet. So just stay tuned. Francisco is out of office right now, traveling. He is in the background hanging and watching the stream and managing the comments and whatnot for us. But he'll share a little bit more about the cadence of how often we're going to do these ambassador cohorts, I think, moving forward.
He is doing such a great job in crafting a great ambassador program. I think we're getting a lot of good feedback because there's a couple of other folks that have ambassador programs, but like what Francisco is doing here and the care he's putting into it, and I think the group of people that he's putting together, I think he's very selective about who becomes an ambassador. Like that to me is really standing out, and people are really loving it.
Yeah. This is the kind of stuff that gets you in the winner's circle. Ruth saying, I got retweeted by Amjad just now for posting my proof of work stats. So
Bam! Let's
absolutely,
go.
that's
Is Ruth taking down another competition? Let's
that's right.
go.
Let's see. Do ambassadors get bonus points for answering questions like in Apple or Microsoft? Yes, in different ways. This is what we're trying to understand, right? How do we know that the crazy part is like, so I've been building community for a long time, right? Like I've been thinking about some of these concepts for literally decades. And when you're dealing with like the average community, you can kind of know and touch. I don't know if people are familiar with like the Dunbar number and this idea that like social circles are usually limited to about 100 to 150 people because that's what the old village structure, the old like, like basically for all of human biology, like the idea that you would interact with more than that many people over the course of your life was like very small. And, so like those are the types of relationships that can matter and be effective and be really useful for folks. When communities scale to the size of Replit, it becomes very difficult to manage those one-to-one relationships, which is why we're encouraging you all as ambassadors to build these little pockets. And so as you all build and do these little things, we have to figure out how do we understand the things you all are doing? How do we reward the top contributors? I saw something over here about, is top spenders, moves you up to the top of the funnel. Spend in Replit is not being considered for this power ranking. Right. So like we're not looking at money as your core or even influence of the metric for this professional thing just yet. That doesn't mean at some point that might not come into play, but it is not a leading signal here. What is a leading signal are social signals, your participation on these streams, your participation inside of Discord, your participation outside of these things. And so we don't know exactly what those rewards or that stuff looks like long term, but we are looking to figure out how do we kind of see and manage and again help support and boost just like this contributors across all different types of surfaces.
Remar, I thought I saw a couple of questions around folks that have team accounts and not seeing their stats listed. Do you have a sense of how team account, like the legacy
Yeah.
team accounts, is being handled?
Yeah, there's something weird with how they made the transition from teams to enterprise and then the team users into pro. I'm going to look into that. Teams should be defaulting to pro in our backend. So as far as I'm aware, team relationships in an org should mark you as pro, but there could be some gaps in that workflow, or it may not be a bulletproof lookup because the data lives in a couple different tables. So I will look into that. There's not, I'll look into that as where I'll leave that.
Okay.
Let's see. Some of my clients have multiple projects. An easier way to generate billing from them. Last time I looked at it was very clunky. Stay tuned. Stay tuned, Stuart Schmucker. Let's see. I want to become a Replit ambassador to be able to help other underrepresented, neurodiverse, and disabled individuals become AI builders. Get to it. There's a big need for that. I think there's a lot of opportunity to just, again, go out there and start doing the things you want to do. Just having a little Replit flag and telling people you're an ambassador is not going to change your level of commitment to go out and do these things. So I would just say, start spinning the wheels. Get out there and start kind of tinkering with what you think you want to do. Put together some kind of plan. If you do an event, if you do something and you share that with us, again, that's a great way to get up on the radar. So as we start considering what the next ambassador cohort looks like, we can maybe squeeze you into it. So.
Yeah, Nav, I'd love to see content from you in terms of how you're doing that.
Absolutely.
Because that's an interesting topic. Like, how do you help these folks? Like, everybody's got like a different angle to help some group of folks. Like Nadia, for example, she was focused on helping people that are hard of hearing learn, and she's using Replit to do that. And she's working with teachers now to help them leverage vibe coding to do their job better. So I'm always interested in hearing how different groups are using this tool in their own particular way. So I'd love to see content on that, Alva. So definitely post that and tag us.
Yeah. Shout outs to Francisco here. Get the Francisco fan club going. Francisco, you're missed on the streams. They want to see your pretty face.
He's coming back. He had to step away for a bit, but I think he's going to join us in a bit.
Be right back.
Keep them coming.
That's funny. Love that you just brought up the Dunbar number. That's right. We go deep on these streams, bringing up concepts that you may or may not have heard about. But
you talked about Jevons Paradox.
Jevons Paradox.
Jevons Paradox.
And
I think
Dunbar.
I
Yep.
think that's a very important concept. I'm glad you're bringing that up because I think it does explain what's happening with vibe coding. So the basic concept there is that as the price of input commodity goes down, the demand for that thing goes up. And so I think it was coined around like when like coal became much more prevalent. Like the price originally it was expensive like all things, but then the price went down, and then like demand for everything that relied on coal went up, like shipping, transportation, things like that. And so, similar things happening with coding. So previously, the price of coding was very expensive. Now it's coming down, and so now you're seeing a ton of demand being unleashed for everything software. And you got
Yeah.
like infinite demand or appetite for software related concepts. And so, and you think your intuition might be like, oh, like the price goes down, demand goes down, but no, it's the price goes down and then demand goes through the roof.
Yeah. And we've seen this a number of times, right? If you think about uh, when iPhones came out and the cameras got really good, and up until that point, it was very hard to film, take photos, and then Instagram comes out, then YouTube comes out, and all of a sudden, you think like, oh no, but Hollywood's still there, big budget producers are still there, like people are still using real cameras and doing real things, but the total number of people who are making videos has gone way up since then. And your options for video and entertainers, if you look around like the YouTube verse, like, we're not all getting our content from the same 5 channels that used to come through the TV, right? And so we've seen this a number of times. Same thing with like AM radio, then to FM radio, and then to Spotify. Like AM radio is still out there doing its thing.
Yeah.
FM radio is still out there doing its thing. And you have podcasts and Spotify and all these other YouTube and all these other platforms where people are distributing their concept. So again, you have just a lot more outlets. One of the things that I think is interesting about this paradox and what's coming is that it's going to cause us to have to rethink how we index and search and organize the internet, right? Up until now, it's been very easy to just have Google or one of these search index go out and they just crawl every website. But now the amount of stuff that's being created, the amount of stuff that is being built, the amount of stuff that's being put behind paywalls is going to just increase exponentially. And we're going to have to find a new way to discover who is creating the top apps, the top things, the top whatever. And so I think you're going to see these localized networks of people that, again, are building trust, building credibility, building things that are worth being shared, and then creating opportunities to showcase, elevate, bring those things to light, which again is part of this whole proof of work concept. And part of what we're trying to do here is not just like say, hey, like here's a profile that shows off your activity. It's no, we're building systems to allow us to kind of elevate folks. And as all these new builders come up, figure out who is it, where do we spend our attention resources, how do we reward folks who are kind of elevating in that network, and then how do we help you trap the value inside of that network? What if we could give you the same infrastructure as a Facebook, as a Google, as any one of these other like big tech companies, except for you own the value of the network because you own the product, you own the system, you own the data, you own the emails, you own the traffic, you own everything, right? Like we saw this whole cancel culture thing that spread, a couple years back and went a little crazy where, platforms were being shut down and different things were being shut down. And like, Facebook had did this whole thing where you built and invested all this money building a Facebook page, and then they flipped the script and were like, oh, now you can only reach this audience by paying us to reach your audience, right? And so Replit is giving you the tools to build and own and manage the value of your own network, the audience, everything, all the data around that. And so I think we could see the same type of paradigm where you have these big networks that we're building on like Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, but they're going to happen inside of privately owned networks. And this is your opportunity to kind of like build one of those networks, own one of those networks, establish this new thing. And so anyway, again, more thoughts about where I think this is going long term. This question here is, you talked earlier about helping to monetize our proof of work and Replit skills credentials beyond just having a better proof. Can we elaborate? So hopefully that helps you understand that like we are looking for, and there's long-term visions to figure out like, how do we become our own product hunt? How do we become our own launch pad? How do we become our own like business incubator? Can we find people who are building cool things and give them credits to help them build. You've seen us roll out projects where, like, if you monetize through Stripe, you can earn credits in Replit. You just saw us announce a partnership with Visa where you can kind of add payments and different monetization opportunities to your Replit project. So again, a lot of these other things go around the side of this. What this profile is just basically pointing to your activity across the network and helping you build trust, so that as you get these monetization opportunities and are able to take your products to market, again, you have trust signals, and then we can also pull in from those trust signals and help elevate you along the way. So that's where I'm excited, right? Like, this is just the initial launch of kind of us trying to quantify some of this for you. But 6 months from now, as this becomes a real system and you start to see us build more programming around this, not just, again, these profiles, but like just general activity across the Replit ecosystem, I think you'll see how this all kind of fits together.
Mm-hmm. Spot on. And then what I would add there is we're putting in a lot of improvements. Reimar's got a bunch of great ideas in terms of how to do that, but I think we're just going to amplify stuff that you're already doing that you should be doing right now. So like, you should be building and you should be sharing, you should be going out there, focus on distribution and marketing, and then you should be focused on building your own crew of folks. Like, you're here in the
Yeah.
chat, you're in Discord, you're building out your community profile, and whatever we roll out down the line is just going to be an amplification of that. But to your point, Reimer, I think the question is like, how are we going to find good work out there in the future? And I keep coming back to this idea of like, you're going to have a brand that's already established, like Ruth, and Ruth is going to know like what the people that follow her really like, and she's going to ship something, and we know Ruth already at that point. And so when she ships it, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to use this product, I'm going to use this service because Ruth is putting it together. So Ruth is already doing that upfront work of establishing that brand for herself, her own community, her own, her own followers. And I think everybody has to do some level of that, being out there and establishing their brand and credibility, so that when you do ship something, you have immediate distribution, or like your first 10 users right out of the gate.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this is a really good point here from open house prospecting. As we collectively optimize our profiles will become more valuable. So the more you all share, the more you all validate, the more people kind of fill out these profiles and start showcasing like, hey, I'm a professional builder. Look at these things I'm doing. Maybe there's a plugin we can do that shows MRR or some other things, like there's all sorts of different stuff. They will become more valuable to you all as well. So that's a really good point. That's a really good point there, open house prospecting. Yeah, okay, let's see. I have more projects in credit. Yeah. The network effect are huge with Replit. Building community makes it easier to see. Yes, this is what I'm talking about, you guys. I don't think, let's just for the sake of trying to get this abstraction out, let's imagine parallels. Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever. Think big tech, social platforms, lots of network effect. They own everything. They own your profile. They own all your activity. They own all your projects. They own the output. They own everything. Now imagine the same type of tech infrastructure, the bones that those platforms use to like build their thing, except for the layer down from there as Replit's monetizing this is not, can we steal the attention of your network and advertise to that layer? Our business model is, can you monetize the stuff you build? And if you monetize the stuff you build and get better at doing that, then we will make more money because you will use the platform more. And this is how Replit is growing, right? It's a completely different model for how big tech is building across the entire digital ecosystem. One is predatory, leads to all sorts of terrible incentives, and is basically created the mistrust and all the bullshit we see online with misinformation and blah, blah, whatever. Because again, the incentives are around, build the biggest audience you can and rent it out to others for a fee. However, in economics, you understand that an audience is an appreciating asset, and you invest in appreciating asset, you rent depreciating assets. And so your value now in the next layer of what the internet becomes is to build and own your own attention networks. And so again, this network effect of you building your own things with the same primitives that make the open web viable at big tech, but you own that. And then our incentive is to just get better at helping you own and build that thing, because as you do that, it builds our thing. Like that is a real symbiotic way that like markets should build, and networking effects becoming an ecosystem rather than just a social network, right? A social economy sounds way more interesting than a social network, right? And so this is the beginning of us shaping the ground floor for what does that become at scale, right? And so anyway, this is Rymar speaking right now. This is not sanctioned by Amjad or Michele, or like they haven't heard the things that I'm saying, but I know it's in line with their goals and what they hope to see the platform become over time. And it's one of the reasons I'm so excited to be on this community team, working with Francisco and Manny and doing this stuff, and them having the trust to put these things together in us to do that type of thing. So anyway, yeah, just
I like that. That's super powerful, dude. Because I think of AI, I think of Replit as the antidote to AI doom. Because I was out there, people are like, "Oh, AI is going to take all our jobs," or "AI is just slob. It's going to help us cheat." And I'm like, no, AI helps you build software that you could never build for before. Helps you help people like in a way that you could never do before. Because use a tool like Replit. AI helps you do that, and that was always my response. And I think what you're saying is Replit can also be the antidote to some of the bad things that we see with social media platforms. This incentive to keep you there all the time, the sensationalization that goes into it. Like we can also use it as an antidote for the for those ill effects of those platforms.
yeah. Yeah, and I think in the early age of social media, we've talked about this. We've basically figured out how to build attention networks, and now we're moving towards action networks, right? And that's the big paradigm shift here, is that Replit is an action network. You get rewarded inside of Replit by creating action that creates real world impact, right? And one of the best benchmarks to understand if you're doing the right thing is to figure out if you're getting what you want out of life. And Replit is a platform like that, where you can kind of go into Replit and build whatever you want. But if you're not generating revenue, if you're not hitting the market, if you're not doing the things that like get you to the next layer, well, maybe there's a different approach. And that shapes the economy / the incentive / the direction that we build here. And so Replit becomes the place where you can build these social groups, these interactive elements, these businesses, these networks, these companies, whatever you want to call them. And again, trap the value closer to the user layer, which is you, and build things that solve problems in your sphere. And that becomes just expect me to get on this soapbox a lot more moving forward, because these are things I've been thinking about for a long time. And I think it really is the value. We talk about communities, the moat. You all are the moat that we're building here at Replit, right? It's unreal to see the energy coming from this community, from folks like you all who are out there that tune into these streams on a regular basis and share your thoughts with us and share your projects with us. And it's what really fuels us to kind of keep pushing this stuff, because we're seeing it be real, right? And even if it's only $100 here or $1,000 there, or some people make $10,000 here, or you hear somebody make $1 million, like it doesn't matter, right? You make your first dollar on the internet, it becomes like, oh, forget about a like on Facebook. Forget about like getting likes on Instagram. Like, go get that money, son. Get that dollar, right? And so, and it can be a game changer, right? If you have a couple $100 a month coming in extra income, or a couple $1,000s a month coming in extra income, it will change your life. It will change how you think about the world. It will change about the opportunities. It will change about how you think about building on these platforms. And these are, like just pieces of the puzzle that I think we can help bring together with our experience, with Manny's background, with my background, with the people that are on this team, with everything that's kind of going on in the industry right now. So anyway, yeah, words of wisdom. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And I love seeing like how people in our community are starting to build their own community out. Like we talked about Nadia and Noni, like they have their own podcast that's rolling out. They're putting out content on a regular basis. They're gonna start building up their community as well. So we're doing it. We want you to do it, and we want to support you in doing that as well.
Yeah. If anybody is somebody who likes to read, like if you're out there and you like to read, there's a book by Lanier called Who Owns the Future? And I recommend anybody building on the internet to read it, especially if you're thinking about the type of software you should be building, or the type of software you should be like thinking about moving forward. And it talks about these siren servers, basically the Facebooks and the Googles and the whatevers of the world, And they talk about how the next new thing is not going to be a new type of Siren server. It's going to be something that basically distributes the earning potential across the network itself. This is why I think blockchain, this is why I think what's happening with like Cloudflare 402 protocol, this is why I think what's happening with, you know, some of these new payment layers, even though, you know, they don't hit mass adoption, they allow for basically the royalty systems to be built into the network itself. And so as the networks kind of pull and grow and interact, the money, the earning potential of the network gets distributed across it. If you look at like the economy of the real world, even though there is a discrepancy between like, you know, the people who make the quote unquote billionaires versus the lower class, there is a path through this, and you have the ability to kind of create something new that, you know, allows you to elevate or build status. In the digital world, most of the earning potential is locked up by the platform at the top, by the Googles, the Facebooks, et cetera, right? This is why you see 7 companies holding up the whole stock market right now. Whereas theoretically, what should happen is the earning potential of these big networks should be spread through the network itself. And what we're seeing is the beginning of those types of networks where people are coming together and they're organizing around ideas that they find valuable. You may hear people refer to this as like the network state or whatever you want to call it, subscription businesses, whatever. But you're starting to see people experiment with networks where the network itself owns the economic output. And I think, again, that's the real paradigm shift that you're going to see over the next handful of years, especially as AI gets better at scraping information, grabbing all of the intellectual property that exists on the web. You're going to want to protect that. You're going to want to be inside of networks where, you know, I know everybody inside this network. I know there's not bots here. I know there's nobody trying to mislead me here, just like in the real world, right? When you interact with people that you trust online, you don't just spam them or record them randomly or like disclose their conversations to, you know, somebody else who might be able to sell something to them, which is basically all that happens on the internet inside these networks. And so as you start building these new networks, as you start building these opportunities for you to, like, again, capture the value, it becomes a whole new paradigm in what the creator world looks like. So
Someone wants to know, when's the first Replit book club meeting?
yeah. Yeah. It's mostly Audible for me anymore, but I read that one years ago, by the way. This book's been out for a while, and Jaron Lanier has some great thoughts about some of the stuff I'm talking about.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't pick it up because he also told me to get completely off social media, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, he's a quirky guy, but he's right about a lot of this stuff, and a lot of predictions that he made have come right. He's
Yeah.
one of the godfathers
early
of
on. Yeah, he was
virtual
early.
reality.
Yep.
Like, he's a very early Silicon Tech guy who now understands the pervasive nature of how we're basically built, you know, corporate spy machines that literally just exploit our attention for revenue. And that's been, if you think about like the advertising model since the beginning of its invention, it's like build the biggest audience you can and then rent that out to others for a fee. And what we're seeing now is build your own network and don't rent it out, like preserve it, right? Like own it, build value in it, find ways to link with people inside of that network. So yeah.
Well, it reminds me of the marketing adage that you know, people that follow you on social media, that's a rented audience versus owned audience. Like if you have their email, so that's why oftentimes you'll see people, you know, they'll post something on socials and they'll say like, oh, drop your email, you know, or sign up for this newsletter. And the reason is because they want to own the direct connection to the end user. So it's almost like an extension of that.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that's what you want, right? Like social's great, having these tools is great, but you want to have like what you want to own. And this is something that took me a little bit to think about, because I came up building websites, right? All the way from the WordPress days into Webflow, into the no-code movement, and now into here. And my thought was always like, you need to own everything online. I don't think that anymore. What I think you need is you need to own a place where you can control the conversion, where you can control the revenue or value exchange. And you can then use all of these different things to point people back to that hub, right? And so this is what I think is interesting about the Vibe code world and the ability to work with Replit to like just fire off projects, a bunch of different projects, because you can just put stuff out there. This is also why I talk about vibe code being the new blogging, because like you're just kind of tinkering with these things. You launch something, you push it out there, you see the impact, whatever, it lives, it doesn't, people see it, they don't. But now it becomes part of this like cloud that you're building. And each piece of that cloud points back to this central hub. And then on that central hub, you can own the Stripe layer, the give me your email layer, the whatever, to get you to the direct relationship with that audience, so that, like Manny said, you can control the flow of information so that you don't have to rely on, hey, I'm going to make this social post and nobody's going to see it. You can send messages directly to them, and again, manage. This is why Substack and some of these, even think about, you know, how OnlyFans started and Substack and Patreon and some of these like subscription based models. You're starting to see more and more people move to that model where it's like, hey, I don't really care to, you know, for lack of better words, sell my audience. I want to build as much value as I can in that audience, get the audience to pay and support me. And even if that means it's a smaller network, I control this, I manage this, nobody can take this from me, right? Nobody can shut this thing off. And that's a very important thing as you're playing with some of this stuff. So
Hmm. And Angelina had a good comment here around people craving community. Yeah, I found this too. As I go out and I talk to people about Replit and AI in general, like I feel that they just light up for a couple of reasons. Number one is I think there's like a lot of doom around AI. I think it's just like in general, like I feel like people have been saturated with like a negative view of AI, and so when I give them the positive spin on AI, like, hey, I just created this FIFA World Cup tracker. I'm not a developer. It looks cool, isn't it? Like they just like, oh, it's contrast to what they're seeing. And then two, just like giving them like ideas in terms of what to build for themselves and how to empower like themselves and who they're trying to help. And so
yeah.
I find like if you're just out there putting out like a positive pitch on what you can do with tools like Replit, I think you're going to get a lot of great feedback from folks. And this is like everywhere because I feel like Replit's such a universal tool. You can go into schools, you can go into businesses, you can go into nonprofits. Like I think like anywhere a tool like Replit is going to really resonate with folks.
Yeah. And I think this is we've mentioned this on previous streams about how special these early moments are in the formation of these types of communities. A year from now, 2 years from now, it will be much more difficult to break in and get this type of engagement, touch, reach, connection, etc. with all of these folks. However, this core group of people that's kind of forming here, the folks that are kind of getting involved in sharing on socials and the Discord, what you're going to start to see is the early parts of our own little mini network effect, right? We've talked about the network effect a number of times and what happens at scale. Right now, we're at the formation part of the Replit economy network effect, right? And so this social economy that we're kind of working towards, this idea that we just kind of explained with this whole proof of work and platform, et cetera, starts to become the base layer for exactly that. For you to build your brand, for you to get connected, for you to build these little micro networks inside of here that start boosting each other's signal. And so, yeah, this is something you should all be digging into right now. If you're just sitting on the sidelines and watching this and you're not actively participating in the space, I would recommend you change that approach. And don't be discouraged because, you know, like not all your posts go viral or you don't get, you know, all the likes you want or all the engagement you want. The best thing you can do is go support other people, leave interesting thoughts on theirs, especially as you see them in the community. And then as you start building that relationship with those folks, or as you start engaging, watch how they start doing the same back with you. Right. So
Hmm.
again, don't just, you know, spam people and don't just beg for likes, like just create stuff people will appreciate, share content that's valuable, and then engage with other people who are doing the same thing and watch how your little network starts growing. And
Hmm.
in, you know, a handful of months, your X profile or your LinkedIn profile or wherever you're doing the work, you know, will start growing at a nice clip.
And just know that we all went through that rough patch of just getting started, feeling like we're talking into a wall, talking into a void, feeling like subconscious of everything. What helped me get through that, and I'd love to hear your tips on this, Raimar, is like that valley of despair, I think, or like disillusionment, is like this concept of like if I just help one person, that's a win. Like
Mm,
if I feel like I get like one like or like I like a couple people view it and I feel like it's valuable and I'm genuinely trying to help someone and I or if I would have found it helpful just 2 months ago. Like often, a lot of my tweets are like that. Like, oh, I just found this thing out in Replit. That's kind of cool. Like I'm just sharing. So like, if my past self would have found it helpful, like, okay, even if it doesn't get like a ton of engagement, that's good. That's winning. And then that sort of helped me kind of ride out that wave. So I'd be interested in hearing like what the things that were helpful for you.
It's the same kind of thing where you just gotta, first of all, you just gotta get over the fact that like not everything's gonna to hit. Like I do this now, right? Like I posted some stupid screenshot from a menu of a Chinese restaurant the other day. Went to bed with like 40, 50 likes, and I woke up with a you know, like it ended the next day with 1.5 million views and like 18,000 posts. So you never know what's gonna go on social.
Never know.
And then sometimes I spend hours and weeks creating content that literally nobody sees or cares about or reacts, and I end up deleting the post. Right. So I think you just got to do it. You know, you go through the motions a little bit. It does help to have a small group. Maybe what we could do is create like a little promotions channel in the Discord, or create some kind of thing to like, you know, have a place where the problem is with that kind of thing, people have zero filter.
Yeah, it gets spammy.
Right.
Very
so
fast.
like, yeah. And it just, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like, and you become the advertising everyone detests.
Right.
You know? And so like, then the channel just becomes like, oh, okay. And then everyone becomes desensitized to it. So if we do stuff like that, we will likely use these filters we're talking about to invite folks into these inner circle channels. Right. And so part of this is also figuring out how do we create filters so that we can have more in-depth conversations. And then again, you earn your way in to more trust inside of the Replit economy, the Replit social layer, the Replit whatever this thing becomes, right? And so, yeah, I think, again, these are all things we're thinking about, but I don't know exactly how it all plays out. Yeah.
If you hit a 10 power ranking, you automatically get a retweet from Reimar and all of your stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we have Francisco here ready to get back on stage.
Oh,
What's
snap,
up, Francisco?
Hey, everyone.
How's it going?
Hopefully my audio is not too bad and my connection's a little stable. I'm currently based out of Mexico. We have a lot of thunderstorms coming through here. So I apologize for audio and just connectivity. But huge shout out to everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I mean, I've been following in the background and also on socials. So it's just been really cool to see all your profiles. I'm like retweeting as fast as I can. I'm seeing some really impressive ones. And thanks for just all the amazing comments. Everyone here has been super positive. Reimar's been working on this for, I want to say like, the past month, but it's been months before he joined Replit, and it's been really cool to kind of see it, you know, all come together. And yeah, we're really, really excited. I think, again, this is just the very beginning. There's so much more to come. And yeah, huge shout out to everyone, Kaiser, Ruth, I see KG in the chat, Chris. I still got my white shirt on, Chris, Nadia, everyone else. Thank you so much. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions around the ambassador program and just community overall. Number one thing I just want to say is that please apply. Like, you know, and there's a chance that maybe in your first iteration you don't get in, you don't get welcomed in. That's totally fine. I've very many times, you know, previously welcomed in ambassadors who like, you know, applied a couple of cycles in and then kind of just really cool stuff in between along the way. And just as a heads up for people that have submitted, we're doing it on a rolling basis. Basically, like once a month, we go through all the applications and we kind of go on to the next batch. We're closing in on 200 very, very quickly here. So it's going to take a little bit of time as we kind of go through everything. But we're very excited to get to know all of you and meet all of you. And one huge favor I have for everyone is if you're part of the live streams, if you're joining us all the time, please let us know. Like that is such a big part of just like understanding where people are coming from. I think the first person that I think we brought on, we knew from the very start, we need to bring this person was Chris. Chris is on every single, you know, live stream, every single chat. It was really cool to kind of bring him on board. And it's just always having to kind of have like great community members. And as Reimar and Manny always mentioned, like just get out there and start kicking stuff off. Like that is the best way to be able to kind of get noticed. And that could be supporting folks on Discord. That could be supporting folks, you know, on the live streams. And of course, having in-person events, online events. We have online events in Ghana. We have an in-person event in Lima, Peru. I think one in San Francisco and New York City, all within like a 2-week time frame. So there's so many different ways to basically get involved and be a part of the ambassador program. Before I go into some more questions, I'll pause there. Anything, Manny, Reimar, you want to add around that?
No, I'd be
happy
curious
to see the three amigos back.
Yeah.
Back in action.
I know. I mentioned this earlier, Francisco, but I think you're doing such a great job of curating this ambassador cohort, and I feel like there's other folks that have similar programs, but we are just getting a ton of great feedback on how we're setting it up. The people we're letting into the program. So maybe like you could talk a little bit about your just general philosophy when it comes to building out these programs, because they're not all the same. There is a quality difference there. So like maybe what's like your
Mhm.
high level philosophy there? I think folks would be interested in hearing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question. I've been doing community for about 15 years, basically my entire career. And I've done it from very small organizations that we started in a garage to, previously a large organization with over 50 million users. And so it really kind of spans the gamut. And my philosophy has been basically the same from the beginning, which is I think you should, and this is going back to 2012, whatever. Like I think it's really good to automate, right? It's always great to automate as much as you possibly can. But the one thing I just don't think you can automate is relationships. I think relationships are one-on-one. I think getting to meet people is one-on-one. I think Reimar touches upon a point where it's like, it's always so tough to have a showcase channel or like, check this out channel, because sometimes it just becomes this huge spam list. And we'll touch upon that another time, but essentially it's just like getting to meet people, getting to like face one-on-one time with them. A lot of the ambassadors that you see here on the sideline or, in the chat, I had a one-on-one calls with them before we brought them on board. And if I didn't, it's because they just, I had amazing recommendations from Reimar, Manny, and everyone else on the team. So like get out there and meet people. I think one of the first values that I always friends was like make friends, not contacts. It's like, how can you contribute to something? And you don't have to do it in person. You don't have to do this massive thing. Big shout out to Eris, who is mostly online, doesn't do in-person events, but was huge in just like helping moderate the Build-a-thon. Like if you're part of that 24-hour Build-a-thon, Eris basically did everything at night, and then KG was during the day, and it was just such a great fit. So there's so many different ways to get involved, but just connect with each other, help each other out, and just be as helpful as you can. And that's like the number one thing you can do. And the second thing I'll say is, when I first started in community and I told people as community manager, people thought I manage apartment buildings, which is a pretty fair thing to think through. They thought I was like the front desk person who likes to set up events inside of like an apartment complex. A lot has changed since then. It's become this massive, everyone says they want a community moat. And I think it's true. And I think it's really important to recognize when organizations are doing it because it's like a checkbox. And because like they want to grow something, want to scale something as quickly as possible. What is the KPI? As many ambassadors as possible. And I've had that conversation many times over the years with leadership across different organizations. Thankfully, I've been at places that just kind of gets it from the beginning. Replit is one of them. But it's always like you'll see a lot of organizations that are bringing on hundreds of ambassadors or hundreds of members in their program, and you don't kind of have that relationship with them, right? I've even heard of folks like having an agency run everything. I myself, I'm here with Reimar and Mini, Reimar is building incredible, internal tools, doing live streams, everyone else, but he's in the Slack channel with us. We just did office hours, he was a part of it. Manny's the same thing. He's doing these big enterprise, partnership streams and everything else. You'll see him in Slack, you'll see him in Discord as well. Like we're here internally as a team to help support you as much as we can. And I'm still doing one-on-one calls. I'll be bringing on a team member pretty soon here to just help scale, just because things are growing very rapidly. But I very much believe in that the first cohort for any community you ever build is the most important. The first 20, 50, 100 members are the most important out of every community, because as the program scales, as the community scales and changes, they will help keep the culture alive, and they will keep that internal culture strong. So yeah, keep us honest and, give us your feedback on what we can be doing better. I think this new launch that we're doing with Reimar here is just a huge, kickstart in that direction for just like, bringing in more members on a more wider level. But yeah, we're always here for any sort of feedback and things like that. Always happy to help.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing. And that kind of echoes the advice you get for launching new companies or startups. Like your first 10 hires, like you should take a lot of time and like bring them on, because they're going to shape the entire culture. And you're bringing that same philosophy to building out these ambassador programs. Like those first cohorts, like just make sure like they're like amazing folks to build off of.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to slowly opening some of these things up, right? You saw we could have easily just opened the door wide open on Discord and said, anybody who wants to play, come on inside. But it would have never been as strong a community as giving us a chance to get those good foundations, testing it with a little bit of scale on some of the build-a-thons, and then now slowly opening it up to other players. You're going to see us do the same thing with these community profiles, where we're just going to slowly open these up, give full access to, like top tier folks, kind of people who have shown us, again, by making the pro investment, and then we'll slowly start opening this up. And so I think, to Francisco's point, the only way to scale some of this stuff is to do things that don't scale, right, at first. And then as you build those systems, as you build those processes, and what you're seeing us try to do is use Replit, use AI, use automations, not to replace the human layer, but to make us better at like finding who elevates from the crowd and find ways to really, again, build the value inside of that community. So, and you can also tell, just listening to Francisco, listening to myself, listening to Manny, we just love building and working with other builders and doing this stuff. You know, like it's in our DNA. And when you listen to the leadership of this company, it is also very important to them, right? It's one of the reasons they are making such a big investment in community. Lots of companies treat community as just a subset of marketing. It just becomes another advertising channel. It just becomes another way to, like, you know, suck people into the funnel. And I think while some of that is part of our metrics, and yes, our goal is to like help grow Replit, our initial primitive is to support you all and to support the builders and to really create this ecosystem around this product. And because this product is, you know, we talked a little bit, has such a different incentive structure online, where it's not this predatory, let me just capture your attention so we can monetize it. It's let me help you build something cool so that we can make money if you monetize it and you keep building with us. Like, there's that same thing that sits in the community where, again, that has to be built on relationships. It has to be built on trust. You have to believe that this platform is going to be here moving forward, that you own the intellectual property that you build on the platform, that it's scalable and gets you to production grade. And so just as we're following this track on the product, people are the ultimate like leader in that product, right? And so that foundation of how the people interact with your product, and because they're such a cool earning potential and opportunity here, to be able to then facilitate and amplifying that and finding, you know, key ways to just scale this community in around that thing. It becomes the challenge of a career. It's the reason I just moved out here, to be able to work with Francisco, to be able to work, you know, with the leadership of this team, to be able to work closely with, you know, just all of this stuff that's happening is just, I don't know how to describe it. It's like plugging your finger into an electrical outlet. Every time you touch this community, it's like, oh my God, that's like crazy over here. You know, it's so wild, the electricity that's coming from this space.
No, yeah. And it's been absolutely incredible to kind of see everything continue to grow. And one thing that Reimar mentioned was just leadership here. You have to remember, Replit is a 10-year company, right? It doesn't feel that way, but we've been around for 10 years. And I think, you know, Amjad, if you've heard a story, I'll be very quick here. I know it's a very long story, but basically he wasn't able to have computer access, access to a computer at home. So he had to go to like cyber cafes and basically learn how to build out his own tools, built out his own tool to basically teach himself how to code. And that's just been the goal of Replit from the very beginning, right? It was a lot of all of you actually here that are here learn how to use Python, learn how to use different programming languages. You know, on Replit, he was previously at Code Academy, worked closely with Khan Academy. Helping people and just helping kind of lower the barrier to entry has been the mission of Replit from the very beginning, right? It's always bringing on the next billion, you know, software creators. That can mean anyone. We have some incredible people from around the world that have no technical background. They're publishing their apps for the first time and just learning along the way. And that's what the community here is for. We highly recommend you join the Discord community. You know, if you're not in there already, it's an incredible place to be able to build with other builders. And we're investing so much more. It's going to be a little bit slow. One thing I've seen a couple of questions here over the next month, because July in general, like in community world, typically like June to August, like late June to early August is like investing into the community, like time, infrastructure. We're going to make it so much easier to be able to host your own events globally, especially for our ambassadors. Someone dropped a question, like, do you have a playbook on how to host your own events? We have one internally, but we're going to like roll it out externally as well, just to kind of have a quick example for what you can do. And we're hoping to kind of support more around the world. I had one campus leader who basically was like, hey, I heard about this 24-hour build-a-thon, like 4 days before it came off. And I always talk about the story, T from Singapore. And 4 days before, she basically just organized a hackathon at her school and is like, hey, everyone, like, they're going to keep giving away credits for 24 hours. Let's just all get on here together. Let's build our products. And like, again, it came together in 4 days. And she's like, I just need like $200 for food and beverage. Like, dude, for sure, let's do this, you know? And now she's a campus leader. We're bringing her on. So yeah, like we're always happy to kind of check things out, what people are building. Please tag us on socials. We're always, you know, especially on X, we're very active on X. And yeah, we're here to support however we can.
Yeah.
There's a good comment here that I really like, that something to the fact that it all feels very organic,
Oh yeah.
which is true. Like, I think, we're kind of like, we have to walk this fine line between automation and like hands-on stuff. So we want to automate all the boring, mundane stuff, but we also want to keep hands-on and like be talking to you directly. And so it's always kind of tricky to do that. And then it's also like it's tricky because we're here telling you about Replit, why we love it, but we also like show you like the full end-to-end experience, right? Like their deep dives, like there's nothing that we're hiding there. Or like when I'm bringing in the PMs, like I'm asking them like kind of some tough questions, the questions that I have as a user. And so I think that's what we're trying to get across as well. Is like, we're not just trying to be here rah like Replit everything. We're trying to be transparent and just trying to educate you as builders, because we were former builders as well. We were on the other end of the fence, and we're kind of creating the content that we would have wanted to see before we joined Replit.
Yeah. And I want to double down on this, that many people are at this company because they would follow Amjad and Michele and the leadership of this team into whatever battle they lead us, because they are as authentic as you see, and they very openly talk about their vision for what they're building, and are not shy to disagree when necessary, and to speak out against the crowd a little bit when it makes sense, to stand up for the principles they believe in. And whether you believe in everything that comes out of leaders like that mouth or not, seeing it and understanding that they move based on core principles rather than the market, rather than trends, rather than, the VC money, blah, blah, whatever, it is such an inspiring thing to see. And I think you see that trickle all the way through all of us. I think I'm an oversharer a lot of times, so I have to be careful not to like share too much about what's happening. Sometimes like we're using Replit and it's like, oh, I think maybe I just showed a feature that nobody should see. So there is this balance that we're playing here where like they trust us to kind of be on camera talking about these things, but nobody's checking our scripts. Nobody's asking for like, what are you going to talk about today? Nobody's directing or guiding this conversation, which I think, again, feels very natural. It feels very authentic. We are all passionate about, doing these things. And so I think that's not a thing that many companies embrace, right? Like most companies put real structured shells over top of this type of thing, and they don't really allow for that type of transparency. I mean, imagine the Build-a-thon, when we had the crash early on, and we, like the site went down and we had to fix it. And then a week later we did this retrospective. Like how many people would ever admitted to that? They would have tried to brush it under the rug and say, oh, there was a little technical issue, we fixed it, cool. No, we came in and we literally diagnosed the thing. We showed you how it broke. We showed you what happened. We showed you where the issues, we showed you how we learned from that. And those moments become the credibility and the trust. And, over time that matriculates out into you all as community members, and it starts kind of building. And again, that does filter down from the top. And so it is quite an empowering moment to be working with this type of team that, again, trusts us to do those types of things and really empowers us to go out and do these things, autonomously in a lot of ways, and then figure out how does it fit into the bigger picture.
And I'll say a huge shout out to both Reimar and Manny. Reimar, with the deep dives, like I was nervous about the deep dives in the beginning. I was like, we're just gonna send it, because I came from a previous organization where I remember we did a keynote and there was 6 people editing the keynote doc 3 weeks before the keynote actually happened. And that's just the kind of place where like the polish had to be, And I was like, I don't know if this is where we should do this. And we went with it. And I think that's where the true community, a lot of the community aspects of the folks here that I've seen in the chat started really kind of, kicking off. So huge testament to Reimar. And same with Manny with guests. Like when we started bringing on engineering guests, like the initial ones, I think we did one where we kind of planned in advance, but the others were just like, let me just DM them and see if they're down to jump on tomorrow. And like some of the best conversations, right? They're very open. They'll talk to you about kind of, what's going on in the back end, how a feature came to be. And it's just, I've learned that it's very much a part of our culture and something that we're going to continue to do, build alongside with you. And again, as Reimar mentioned earlier, when we're rolling things out and we're only opening it to pro initially or only opening it to core, it really is an intentional thing. It's not something to gate out everyone else. That is never our mission. It's mainly just like, hey, let's provide a good experience. Let's stagger it out intentionally and then scale it out from there. But yeah, a lot of great stuff from the team. Huge shout out to them for doing this incredible work. And then I'm seeing a lot of questions about Build-a-thons coming soon. Yes, I think Build-a-thon coming very soon. I will say I'm thinking announcing at the end of this month at some point. But even after that, I mean, Reimar's talked about having more just ongoing, place where you can kind of engage and build with fellow builders. So there's just a lot coming on the pipeline. And then the last thing I'll say, and do not quote me on this, please, Chris, especially you. There are rumors of another birthday Build-a-thon celebration. So rumors, truly rumors, but I think like we were also excited to see what people built. I always use, I believe it was Noni who published her app, which then started making money. And it was literally the 24-hour Build-a-thon where she brought it to life. She's like, I'm going to spend this weekend to get it out there. And there's so many cool stories that came out of it. So we'll always be looking for ways to engage with everyone.
Just getting folks like Nadia or Noni on our radar, like, oh my gosh, it was like so worth it just for that. Getting those folks like up, out and about.
All of them. The Spell Strike.
Oh yeah. So like people in the chat right now came directly from that Build-a-thon, right?
I saw some big product launch recently about an LLM that redacts all your content in the browser. And I was thinking about Tasha from the Build-a-thon and like how she was ahead of some of this stuff. So again, I think there's some real creative talent in this space. And getting to know you all before you break out. Some of you at some point will maybe leap past us in audience and size and scale of what you're doing. So yeah, I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to watch this all this go. Yeah.
Shout out to Spell Strike. Do you have the horn, Reimar? I don't know if you.
There we go.
Awesome. Huge shout out to Spell Strike. But yeah, always love to end it on a high note. I'm so sorry I'll have to jump for a call, but it was so great to see everybody. I'll be checking out your ambassador applications, and yeah, I'll be around, everyone. Thanks, Reimar and Manny, for having me on.
Right on. See you, Francisco. Okay, and I think we're, let's see, we can pull that out of there. And I think we're pretty close. Let's see, anything else coming in? Kizzer, by the way, it's Kizzer, not Kaiser. Kizzer. We had a chat about that not that long ago. Ruth said something recently that I wanted to. This Reimar speaking off the cuff is more polished than most college professors. Yeah, I have the opposite effect. If I like create a script and try to follow a script, it comes off terribly. But if I just get into the zone and like just start riffing and my brain just works like that, like I get into that improv mode. So yeah, anyway, I appreciate you saying that. I don't know where it came from. Probably like a decade of sales knocking on doors.
We have this meme that most people get their best ideas in a shower. Reimar gets his best ideas live on a stream.
Yep. Yeah, just talking about this stuff, just getting kind of in the zone. I think it might be fun to do some episodes where it's just like, let's just go through the news. Let's go through what's trending in the industry, like more podcasty style where we just, riff on kind of what's happening. We grab X posts throughout the week and then we just kind of like talk about news and updates and things like that. So
maybe this Friday?
Yeah.
I'm planning.
Yeah. Well, and in the spirit of, sharing too much, my dream since I even started, since long before, if you go back and you look at some of the stuff I was doing early on, like a decade ago, even when I started doing WordPress Wednesdays is what we used to call them. And we would get people into a room and I would teach them WordPress. Right. And I was like, let's film this and let's put this out. And this idea of how do you evolve media inside of a marketing operation like this so that it feels fun and playful and authentic. This radio DJ is exactly it. Imagine like a Replit live lobby, a place where you can always come. It's moves just as fast as the product. You can come hang out, learn. Maybe sometimes we're watching replays. Maybe sometimes we're building. Maybe sometimes we're learning from people on the team. I don't know, but just imagine this is going to keep evolving. You saw recently, you see the backdrop here, right? We're building a little bit of a studio. Wait till you see what's coming next with some of this studio operation stuff. And so the goal is to be able to like sit down and have more and more of these conversations. And so I think just like the product continues to evolve and like we'll call Replit a product-led company at its core, this community is going to evolve and we will be a community/media-led product. And I think you'll just see us start doubling down on all of that stuff as we go. So yeah.
a question here. I think this comes up quite a bit. I just want to tackle it again here. The ref. When will you make it easier to hand over a website to a client?
Mm,
I think the best way to do it right now, the ref, is to have the client set up a workspace for you two, and have them invite you to that workspace, and you build off of the client's workspace. I think that's the easiest way. One, they can see exactly what you're doing. Two, it'd be easy for you just to jump in that workspace, work, and you can work together actually because you're both be hovering over the same project. And then three, when you're done, you just like, okay, you just log off. You're all set. And then four, if and when you have to come back and make changes, you already have access to that same workspace. You can see what the client's done, and you can fix things or add things, and then also add a maintenance layer to that agreement as well. So yeah, right now, ref, I think that's what I would recommend is have them create a workspace, have them invite you to that workspace, and then just keep it all on the client's own Replit account.
yeah, I think that's probably the right way to do it. Because the problem is if you transfer stuff, then you got to worry about connectors and hosting and shutting down the deployment and other stuff. Whereas like right off the bat, you can have them in their workspace and then they can pay for the usage, right? They pay for your usage. And so that way you're not worried about billing the client. You shouldn't be trying to make your money by marking up the Replit agent spend. That's not the best way to like make your money. And that's going to make people feel like they're getting like not the best deal. You should be selling on value add. You should be selling on, like Manny said, maintaining the build, fixed fees, your rate, right? As a hourly rate, however you want to do that. But it shouldn't necessarily be like, hey, I'm going to hide and obfuscate what we're spending with the agent. If anything, you want to be transparent. And if that's happening in their workspace, that's way more easy to do because they can see that spend and then they pay for it because they own the workspace rather than you paying for it and then trying to have to bill them back for your time. So yeah, that's a great way to do that. All right. I think maybe this is a good stopping point. Maybe this is a good amazing stream. And I love the, yeah, just you wait your pretty little face.
We're just getting started. Reimer is just getting set up in the Bay Area, so
Yeah, I mean, I moved into my apartment last Tuesday, so a week ago yesterday, we were unloading a truck. Crazy story, the movers didn't show up, and I don't know, for some reason I had like a gut idea that wasn't going to happen because they never collected a deposit. And so the day before I'd hired a TaskRabbit. So anyway, last week was a lot crazier than I expected it to be, but I'm unpacked, I'm settled, I'm here. I am now fully focused on building out the production value. You're going to start seeing us really step up these streams. A lot of you guys don't know this, but I have, as much as I have a technical background in building software and building websites, I have a video production background in like setting up live streams for large events and building and helping grow different live stream operations. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to be out here doing this. This is why I decided to pick up my whole life and make this move, which is I still don't know that I understand exactly what's happening being out here. Like sometimes I look around and I'm like, bro, you live out here now.
Right.
Like what? So anyway, yes. And if you look at my commit graph, actually, it's funny. You can see the move. Like you can see the travel in the
gap.
move. Like, yep. There's
That's
like
when you
just
lost the streak, dude.
yeah. Right.
That's where Ruth overtook you on the streak.
That's right. And never to happen again, by the way. Never to happen again. If we, yeah, so I don't think I'm sharing my screen here, but yeah, I was going to show I don't know how to do screen share. That's right.
The gap. I don't know how you do it, man. You've been a machine the last 2 weeks. You were in New York, you were in Brazil, you shipped this great monster feature. You're setting up the studio.
And moved into a whole new apartment. And if you saw set up this studio, plus I have the rig at home. Yeah, but anyway, you can see that here. You can see the slowdown. Basically, this was the week I left Florida. This was Web Summit Rio. This was VibeCon. This was coming back. And then this was settling in and moving. And now you're going to start seeing the orange pop right back up and get super bright in here. So you can see the amp. It's kind of fun to see this, you know, and like just again, it gives you accountability, right? It's one of those things where like, am I shipping? Am I working? And now just seeing this graph fully filled out doesn't mean, you know, you're winning. But it is a good indicator of like, hey, here's my activity, here's my consistency, here's my accountability. So anyway, super excited to share these with you all. Go claim your profiles. I think it's just going to be exciting to see where this community heads over the next couple months. We've already said, I think, everything that needed to be said. Manny, any final thoughts here as we go?
Go claim your profile, share it on social media, tag us, because again, on Friday, we're gonna reward some folks with some nice, juicy credits. So to do that, make sure you're sharing, make sure you're tagging us. We want to see that. And of course, send us your feedback. This is just the beginning. There's a lot of cool things we can add to this. What do you want to see on this? Let us know.
When will we see a home tour? Probably not going to happen. You'll see this. You'll see the setup though, because I will record stuff over there. I wanted to have a nice, so I brought my whole setup from home, and I'll have a nice setup at the house to record things there and here. So you'll see a blend of that kind of stuff. And I heard some comments about like podcasty stuff. Maybe there's like a home podcast brewing or something like that. You know, like a little Sunday sessions, a little the rhyme or reason. Like they say, there's no rhyme or reason. You know, so maybe there's a rhyme or reason, or like, I don't know what fun things might come, but make no promises. But I love doing this stuff. And anyway, yeah, game on. So my profile's sad. That's okay. There's still potential.
It's all right. Get it up, man.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us. We're going to go ahead and send this out for folks in the background, and we'll catch you guys on the next stream. Bye, everyone.